So today, this is just some things that they would have had like out on the frontier. Mostly I focused on stuff for like toys, like what kids would have been using on this side. And then you just have some everyday stuff on this side, like my soap right here, just like a little, basically just like a compact that you would see anywhere else.
It's a what?
But a little compact, just a mirror.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so these are all just...
But it's metal. Wow, this is glass.
It is glass. So yeah, all of this obviously is replica. We don't have hard cracks, just how it's in there. But yeah, it just kind of shows like what they used to do. That is a Jacob's ladder. So a Jacob's ladder. So it would be basically just little pieces of wood like this. And I'm kind of bad at it, but I'm gonna try and get it. Okay, hold on. I grabbed it in the wrong spot. So you can get it to kind of do tricks, basically. So it's a bunch of ribbons that kind of catch the wood as it falls down, right? So again, there's a bit of a trick to it that I haven't quite learned yet.
It's good.
But it's a lot of fun to do. I can see why they would
I can see why.
just do this wherever. It's kind of mesmerizing. That's all it really does, though. But you know, just a lot of their toys were something that would have been simple. Yes, so there was a bunch of different kind of dolls. So they wouldn't have gone and just like bought a nail puzzle. It's a puzzle. So basically, you're trying to get them to disconnect, which again should have spent some more time at Cracker Barrel playing in the front, so I can be better at this. But yeah, so it's just two nails that they would have bent around, and then the trick is to get the two parts that are, yeah, exactly. And so both parts can be the one. That is a buzzsaw toy. So, a buzzsaw toy. So, yes, so back in the day, obviously there's a lot of people that would have been cutting trees and things like that, right? Like lumber was a big...
just don't get yourself in the fight.
I know, exactly. That's what I'm trying not to do. So the kids would have been interested in the buzz saws, and so the goal of this is to make the same noise as a buzz saw. And of course they would go up to each other, kind of like, you know, trying to get each other with it. If you can get it wound tight enough without hitting yourself in the face, it kind of makes it sound like a buzz saw would going on the track. But it takes a bit of doing. So as you can see, a lot of their stuff would just be wood, string, that kind of stuff. And a lot of it's similar to what we would use today. Like this is actually just a 12 launcher right here. So you would just do like that.
Cool, okay. And this is basically the same.
Same thing, just a different kind of towel. This is kind of like a ball and cup, but instead of ball and cup, it's ball and stick, and I think it's way better. So,
well, I would never be.
Yes. So one of the tricks to it is supposed to be to turn it like this and like get it to rotate, kind of stay straight, and then you try to stab it. My other coworker could do it, and I can't believe it. I can't. But yeah, so just simple little games, things like that. That's what a lot like what they would have done. Basically. So you have a bunch of different kind of games. They still have a lot of the same card games that we play today, like Old Maid would have existed by this point in time. But
This looks like a baseball.
that is a baseball. And in fact, one of the very earliest baseball games was played in Texas, right around here. And it would have actually been for San Jacinto celebration. So it would have been really, really early game of baseball. In this exact place that we're standing. So
You know what day that was?
the date for this one, I would have to look it up.
Okay.
But
I'm just curious.
yeah, so it would have been late 1800s. So I'm looking at our baseball now. I gave you that one. I don't know, she didn't give me the baseball date. It just says something about it. I know 100% it was a San Jacinto Day celebration. So even starting like very early after, so 1836 is the actual battle of San Jacinto. They were already having like anniversaries and things by the 1840s. So it was at one of those. They would usually come out here, have a picnic. This was after they kind of fixed up the battlegrounds a few years later. And yeah, like they had a bunch of different recreational things that they would come out here and do, and baseball happened to be one of them. So if you look at it, it's pretty similar to like a modern day baseball.
Oh, it's light.
Yeah, it's a lot lighter. Still leather though, still something stitched together.
No, you wouldn't indeed.
But yeah, a lot of the stuff is still pretty much the same, but I think the difference in their dolls is really interesting because, you know,
Yeah.
you would have to make your own.
Yeah.
So this is a handkerchief doll, or also they call it a church doll a lot of the time. Because
Okay.
as your kid's sitting in church, you probably always have a handkerchief on.
Right.
So,
Make one, right?
exactly, just make it right then and there.
It wouldn't be that fancy with a lace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, depending on your handkerchief, right? But yeah, so you can just tie it up with a ribbon, and it's a doll. This is literally just a wooden spoon. So
Okay.
they would just make.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. So they would have made just a little sleeve basically for it,
Yeah.
and you just sew this together, just hand sew it, and you have a little doll. And a lot of the time they would color them like this, give a little bit more personality. And then this one's probably like the closest to like a traditional doll. You know, she had stuffing in her. So they would have had like just a simple little body.
Yeah.
They put some clothes on it. They did have access to buying fabrics and
Sure.
after 1836. So they actually could have worn more colorful stuff than a lot of people I think anticipate. So like the colors you see in these paintings, you can tell they're wearing like blue, yellow, red. Like they would have had access to things like that.
Right.
But you still would have had to sew together. So you could buy your fabric, but you would have to like actually make the outfits.
Okay.
And then of course you have, so this is just leather, right? Not as normal.
Yeah.
This one is actually a deer hide, and it's like slipping my mind just what they for it right now. And then this is just some, yes, that's it, buckskin. And then this is just a nice little rabbit fur right here, nice and soft.
Yeah.
But yeah, just normal things. So I also have an example of like a hunting diet. So this is some hardtack right here, right? So
What?
it's just hardtack.
Okay.
So it's
okay.
just-
It sounds like a cracker.
Yeah, well, harder than that even.
Well,
They
that
were not
makes sense,
joking.
right?
Yeah, it does. So they would have cooked it, but and it's actually pretty similar to the ingredients of a cracker. It's just flour, salt, and water.
Okay.
So it's honestly, if you've ever had dried Play-Doh, it kind of is a lot like that, to be honest.
Okay.
And then this is actually salt pork, and this is real salt pork.
Okay.
So they would basically just take your raw pork, salt it really good, and then it will kind of last indefinitely. I mean, I would not eat this now
Yeah.
after, you know, it is a touch too salt pork, but
How old do you think that is?
it's about 18 years old, this one is.
Okay.
So it's been around for a while.
Okay.
And then, yeah, different things you would have done. So this is just made out of cat horn. Just a nice little comb. Not that different from any other comb.
But somebody spent a lot of time making it.
Exactly. It would
How
have been
do you get to keep that fine and that?
I know, it's a skilled labor, right? So they would have had to carve it.
Yeah.
And yeah, the teeth on this one are really fine.
Yeah.
But you can feel it's just like a normal comb,
Okay, yeah, it does.
but just from cow horn, and they would have definitely had access to a good bit of
Okay,
horn.
and this is?
That is just lye soap. So it's really not all that different from the soap we use today. We have a bit more additives, scents, things like that, but lye would have been something, again, they would have access to. You want to wrap it like a cloth to prevent, you know, it from, you don't want to waste your soap, right? So dry it off, but yeah, it's,
Unusual.
Yeah.
I have something down.
oh yeah, so yeah,
A lot of
it's,
times it cleans like nothing else.
yes, it does. It definitely makes you clean. And so, yeah, they just sort of typical little. If you're gonna get yourself pretty, you could have seen this, and this honestly probably would have been kind of fancy with the flip out like this, but just normal wood, just a little silver mirror, not literally silver, but
And then the coins that they cut up sometimes.
yes. So these are pieces of 8, and so the inherent value of each coin is gonna be, you know, like $100 for this right here. Okay, so you could break them up into smaller increments and then still pay with that. They would still be valid. So that's why it's pieces of 8, even though really they would have really like split up into 4 pieces.
Those
But you
are
know,
true pieces of money.
exactly. Yes. So these are not real Spanish coins, but that is what they're modeled after.
Okay.
Right. And so
Okay.
you can see a lot of different towns would have had. There wouldn't have been like a central mint necessarily, like for the Spanish. This is the date I made.
Okay.
So even like if you had enough silver and you were able to weigh it and it was the right amount, you could have stamped it.
Sure.
I mean, not everybody would have the stamp, right? Usually
Right.
they did kind of try to restrict that, but yeah, like, and so that's why they were able to literally break the coins because, I mean, it's literally silver, right? So it's still got inherent value to it. It's not like a fiat currency,
Right.
it's literally silver.
Right.
So they still would have had some of these around and been able to pay for goods and services using that.
Okay.
You can see this one is an example of one that would have been like hammered another time. So like maybe your original mint one would be this nice pretty circle, but then this one would have been like, let's say, yeah, so it had some pieces taken out, and then like, you know, or maybe put back together, warped back up, put back in that press, and then it's not pretty circle anymore. But yeah, they could have just chipped it off. There was also people who, this might be a little older, this is just a general history fact I know, but there was people that would counterfeit money by taking the ones that were shaped like this, they would cut little bits of it off, and then eventually they would get enough silver to make like a new coin, and it wasn't issued by any official like body, and so those would be considered like counterfeit coins, but still real silver because they clip little edges off like this.
See? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. It's just some fun stuff.
And this
Oh, and
is
then
a canteen.
just a canteen is exactly what you think. So this is a board, right, of some sort.
Okay.
They put growing out here. So it's not a pumpkin. It's more like a squash.
Okay.
And so you would have dried it like as good as you possibly could. You want this to be super, super dry because if you're putting water in it, it's going to rehydrate the inside. And if you didn't, you know, make sure it was truly like beyond bone dry, it would start getting like goopy stuff in the water. And nobody
Oh,
wants
is that
that.
one piece or two pieces put together?
It's actually just one piece, so you don't want to have seams back in it because that's why they use boards instead of like putting
so
it
while
out.
they're still pliable, you shape it and then dry it.
Well, since it's a gourd, it would have probably just grown about in this shape, right?
Well, I think they're more round, more like pumpkin.
So some of them can. There's a bunch of different kinds of gourds, and they can grow it in a bunch of different shapes. But this one, so this right here is just like,
Sure, it's used for training.
yeah, it's just
And for putting the strap on.
but you don't want the seams on it, so that's why it would have had to be in one piece because the water could escape through there.
Okay.
And that's also why they didn't make them out of wood strips because it's like next to impossible to get wood tight enough.
Right.
And you definitely don't want it to leak in Texas. Like when you're out in the frontier and you don't know where your next water source is going to come from, you're going to use something that's pretty watertight. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Very good. Well, I appreciate you.
Of course, thank you.
What's your name?
My name is Bailey.
What?
Bailey. B-A-I-L-E-Y.
Oh, Bailey. Okay.
Bailey, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm part of my ears.
No, you're totally fine. It's echoey in here, I understand.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
anytime. Thank you for stopping by and listening.